You know, we've been talking about food in terms of the vegetables, fruits, and grains that are around the outside of the store. Of course, you know that some people get all of their nutrition from vegetarian and vegan sources. Our community spotlight this month will show us the differences and explain the reasons behind this growing trend. Northwest Veg is a nonprofit organization that promotes this lifestyle, and they're going to show us how to prepare some delicious and nutritious meals from the perimeter of the store.
No meat in sight, vegetarian delight. Vegetarian delight. Vegetarian delight.
Tonight we're here at the Northwest Veg Potluck, and this is an event that happens weekly, monthly. Can you tell me about that?
We have a couple of potlucks. We have one down in Portland that's happens on the third Sunday of every month, and then this one up in Vancouver that's on the last Thursday of the month. It's an opportunity for people who are, maybe they're interested in this, they're just not sure about vegetarian diets. Those people can come here and then they can see a whole bunch of good food because, we have some really good cooks here. Northwest Veg is a group that supports people trying to move towards a plant-based diet. And there are really three reasons why why people might make that choice. There are environmental reasons, there are reasons dealing with the way we treat animals, and then of course there's the nutrition aspect. Generally, although you can eat a stupid vegetarian diet, generally vegetarian diets tend to be healthier. You have less fat, you have more fiber. All the nutritionists say you should be eating whole grains, lots of fiber, lots of foods like that for, various reasons, reduce chance of heart disease, reduce chance of diabetes, certain cancers are related to the diets that you have. That's, if you're trying to avoid those sorts of things, a vegetarian diet is something that really generally helps a lot.
Peter, can you tell me a little bit about the differences between vegan and vegetarian?
Well, there's some terms we use to sort of put people into classifications, but there's really a whole continuum for people. Vegans are ones who do not eat any animal products. Vegetarians do not eat any slaughter products. So a vegetarian will could eat, for instance, cheese and eggs and things like that, but they wouldn't eat meat, they wouldn't eat chicken, they wouldn't eat fish. There are a lot of people who call themselves vegetarians who eat fish, but if you're using the literal definition of not eating slaughter products, that's usually what most people refer to vegetarians, as someone who will not eat anything that was alive at some point. There are people who are vegan strictly for dietary reasons. The people who are interested in nutrition, for instance, that would be the only thing that they'd want to cut the animal products out of their diet, but they wouldn't necessarily care about the animal products that they're using for other things. But there are a lot of people who really are into trying to reduce their impact overall. The environmental and the way we treat animals, those are things that affect more than just diet. So you could have people who are really interested in vegan lifestyle. So you can have a vegan diet and you can have a vegan lifestyle.
Oh, every single reason. I don't think there's a reason not to be. The environment, one thing, animals, and health. I just don't see a reason to justify not being there. I discovered Northwest Veg through a bunch of trade shows. They always had a little booth there, and I would go and take some literature to pass out to my friends. And it was actually at Veg Fest that I found out, they have potlucks. So, this pretty much speaks for itself.
It's been an educational experience and a good chance to get recipes that I can try at home, taste the food. The presentations are very interesting, especially for me, kind of new to vegetarian and vegan eating. So I've enjoyed that in a cooking demonstration.
They have a talk or a cooking demonstration or some sort of a discussion at each of these things too. So it's good food and it's also good knowledge. If you're looking to try and eat a good healthy diet, whole grains, whole foods, high fiber, these are the sorts of things that can help lower cholesterol, for instance. Cholesterol, well, the bodies make it themselves, but also we get a whole lot of cholesterol in the things we eat. And it's only present in animals. It's not present in plant foods. A lot of the fats that are present in animals, saturated fats, They're ones that are, lead to potential problems like intestinal cancers and so on, have been tied to animal fats. You can really have a much healthier diet. Now, you do have to be careful on a pure vegan diet because you need, for instance, make sure you're getting enough vitamin B12. It's not made by plants, it's not made by animals, it's made by bacteria. But if people who are eating animals, those animals have a lot of bacteria in them that are generating those, or they get the bacteria out of the soil as they're eating different things. And so you only need very tiny amounts of vitamin B12, but people who are not vegetarians get it from those sources. Nowadays, we wash all our fruits and vegetables, so if you're vegan, you're probably not getting B12 because you're not getting the bacteria. So a vegan does have to look, if you're not having any animal products, you do have to make sure you're getting B12. Only small amounts are needed. And, you can find it in so many different products. I get it in my rice milk, for instance. It's in nutritional yeast. There are lots of different products that have it out there. So even if you don't want to take a vitamin pill every day, which a lot of people recommend that you do that, just make sure that you have it somewhere in your diet, and you should be fine. That's pretty much the only one that's big. There are a lot of other things that are concerned for vegetarians and vegans, but they're also concerned for the public as a whole too, because things like vitamin D. We have a lot of vitamin D deficiency up here because we just don't get the sunlight, which sunlight's one of the ways that you manufacture vitamin D. And in the winter, we just don't have that up here. But so that's true for vegetarians. It's also true for non-vegetarians. You got to look for making sure you got sources of vitamin D in your diet if you're not able to get out there and get sun, which we can't do in the winter out here.
First, we're going to add this. Some oregano and some bay leaves. You can add at this point thyme, basil, or rosemary, whatever you would prefer.
One thing I'd be interested to know is how do you replace the nutrition that is lost when you don't eat meat?
The question people who are vegetarian always get asked is, where do you get your protein? Because people know that animal products do have a lot of protein in them. Plant products have a lot of protein in them too. Matter of fact, a vegetarian could probably get too much protein if they're not careful on how much they eat. We think of that you need a lot of protein, but stop and think for a second. When is the time in your life when you're going the fastest? When you're a baby, right? I mean, you're doubling your weight in 180 days. And then you think, well, if you're growing the fastest, isn't that when you need the most protein? And then you stop and think, okay, what do you feed a baby? Well, mother's milk, right? How much protein's in mother's milk? It's only 6% of the calories are protein. There's more protein in potatoes than there is in mother's milk. So, why do you think when you're older, when you're not growing as fast, that you need 20% protein in your diet? Your body really doesn't need that much protein. It actually causes problems when you have that much protein. Matter of fact, there's a famous diet called the Atkins diet that people go on to lose weight that's a really high protein diet. And I think the reason why the Atkins diet works is it actually makes you a little sick because your body has to really do a lot to digest the proteins. You got to strip off the amino group from it, and you form these ketones when that happens, and those things can make you kind of sick. Of course, being sick, you don't eat as much, and you lose weight, but it's not the way I want to lose weight. The environmental aspects, when you're growing food, if you can eat the food directly, the plants directly, that's a whole lot more efficient than going and eating, feeding that food to animals and then eating the animals. It's on the order of like 10 calories in for every calorie you get out when you're feeding to, like, say, beef cattle or something like that. So, if you're talking about efficiency, you're talking about sustainability, you just can't sustain a large population on meat. I mean, the whole world would not be able to eat like we do here in the United States if everybody were eating the sort of meat consumption that we have here. Milk and cheese, you don't involve slaughtering animals, but you certainly involve, in many cases, keeping animals in pretty horrible conditions. And then on top of that, you have as much global warming problems coming out of, milk and cheese as you do out of the beef itself, because it's cows in both cases. They need to be fed a whole lot of food to produce that milk, and they produce methane. They belch methane, which is a really powerful greenhouse gas. The Food and Agriculture Organization found that worldwide that the livestock industry is responsible for 18% of the total greenhouse gases. 18%. I mean, that is more than transportation. That is more than all the cars, ships, boats, trains. It's on a worldwide basis. It's not true here in the United States, but on a worldwide basis, it's huge. And you know, if you're trying to cut your greenhouse gas production, you know, you're trying to live sustainably in that way, you can't do it without looking at your diet. You know, the car you drive is probably less important than the food you eat as far as cutting greenhouse gases.
Joint, gonna grab a little meal to hold me tight. My bottles always spend their best, do it my way. So my order's gonna be the toughest of the day. Be waiting for my chalupa when I drive around. Then I'll wait for my pride, baby, till the sun goes down. Burger's gonna be just right. Looking forward to a little vegetarian delight. Cows, but
Peter, thank you for inviting us down to Northwest Veg tonight in this special event.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Brian, wonderful demonstration. Thank you for sharing that lovely food with us.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Well, I'm Eugene Dendas, bringing you the tools to be sustainable today.
vegetarian delight. Vegetarian delight.